Welcome to the carnage.
Welcome back to the channel, everybody, and to the Carnage. My name is Mr. Carnage, and we're going to go and kind of dive into some more of this, back and forth issue with Roblox. The biggest one being yesterday, I posted a video about Collective Shout finally stepping into the Roblox situation, stating, that they're taking up arms and that they've been there from the beginning and blah, blah, blah. It seems everything that they said was to kind of save face, like, oh no, we've been there since the beginning. We don't know what you guys are talking about. That we're silent on the situation. Oh no, 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 no. So we all know it's bullshit, especially if you read through half of their Roblox post. It had, the typical talking points of, we totally stand behind, Roblox getting rid of men who are predators off the platform. Had no say about female predators, even though there have been a few. And there were those stories on the subreddit for Roblox where victims of this were sharing their stories and talking about, some of the experiences that they had. Since then, that subreddit has been deleted, and I can't figure out why. I'm assuming Roblox stepped in and did something. I don't know. Probably strong-armed whoever the original poster was for that and got him to take it down. I'm assuming a cease and desist letter, something. So that's been taken down since, and there were, last I checked yesterday, there was roughly about 150 to 200 stories of people. Not saying all of it's true, obviously. A lot of people do embellish or lie on Reddit. So it did seem, though, that there were a few stories that I read that were legitimate. There were, research done on those where, yeah, I mean, there was a trail there. So obviously they were telling their truth. But the payment processors now, after this whole collective shout, still more or less stated that, and we're supposed to be getting a full statement, but stated that, Roblox is a child's game and they don't feel that the content itself should be censored because it doesn't hurt their brand, right? And so that was the whole issue with, Steam and itch.io to them was, we can't have some dude in the basement, beating off to anime because it hurts our brand. But it's completely okay for, PDF files to be on a kid's game, taking advantage of children. That's fine to them. That's okay to them. And so nothing's being done about it. And this guy's video kind of goes into more of the hypocrisy of it all. So let's go ahead and jump right in.
Is that Visa and MasterCard continue to support Roblox throughout all the controversy that's been hitting them. We have a tweet from RTC, which is the Roblox community with 1 million followers on X. They said, in response for 17-year-olds being allowed into social hangouts that include quote-unquote private spaces such as bathrooms or bedrooms, Roblox has stated, which by the way, this just gets creepy. Roblox has stated they are now considering 17 versus 18 for these experiences. And they said Roblox has updated their dev forum article from yesterday, but they're talking about, oh, maybe we'll move it up from 17 to 18 plus. Like, that's going to make a massive difference. And we have this from That Park Place, a story that I really was curious to see, a follow-up on the Visa and MasterCard situation, about how they continue to support Roblox censoring adult games on Steam while funding a predator's playground. This comes to us from Marvin.
So, yeah, exactly. They're, like I stated earlier, they have no problem being the payment processor for Roblox, knowing full well the controversy, the lawsuits, everything that's going on, but yet still having that stern stance on Steam. And how dare they have single-player games that affect nobody, and they're out there, playing in their mom's basement, beating their meat, right? And it just seems the more and more we get into these things, it's like the collective shout issue where they're supposed to be an ally to the LGBTQ, LMNOP community, whatever you want to call them nowadays. They have no problem saying that they're an ally to them, which is a big part of what they talk about in those communities is their sexual identity, right? Like, how dare you say anything about my sexual identity if I want to be, gay or unicorn or trans or whatever. And yet, at the same time, they don't want men playing games as a straight man, right? They don't want them playing these games because they're horrible towards women. And that's their one and only talking point. Oh, these games are so horrible. You can smack a girl around. You can do this. You can do that. But when it comes to Roblox, right, you can technically do those things in Roblox. There are plenty of games in Roblox that have been censored, scrubbed off for the type of content that they provided. And they didn't seem to have a problem until, like I said, they posted yesterday that they've been there the whole time. This didn't all come down until they started getting flack for it. Let's get back with him and see what he has to say.
Montanaro, again, over on That Park Place. Great writer for That Park Place, so shout out to Marvin. He said, despite reportedly forcing platforms like Steam to eliminate legal adult-oriented games, Visa and MasterCard continue to support Roblox despite numerous reports of predators using it to reach children. When gamers noticed hundreds of adult titles suddenly vanished from Steam and itch this summer, the explanation didn't come from Valve or indie developers. It came from banks. Payment processors, Visa and MasterCard, working in tandem with advocacy pressure, forced platforms to eliminate, quote-unquote, certain kinds of content or risk losing the ability to process transactions altogether. The move sparked a storm of backlash from developers and free speech advocates who decried the practice as financial censorship. And this is kind of like the double-edged sword we get with the Roblox situation right now, because I'm like, on one hand, I don't want Visa and MasterCard censoring it, because then we're going down that slippery slope road of here we go again. They're doing more of it.
Exactly. And he's got a point there. It's either, and this is my take on it, it's either you censor all of it or you censor none of it. But you can't sit there and pick and choose, from your pedestal of what you are willing to censor or want censored and what you're willing not to censor. So my problem is that if you're going to censor Steam for single player adult, legal games, not even illegal games, legal games from what you deem is a risk to your brand, but yet at the same time you're like, no, Roblox is fine. We don't care because it's a child's game and the content in it doesn't spark controversy, which is again in itself laughable because that's not true. There have been plenty of Roblox games that have been adult oriented, right? Like Diddy Party 1 and 2, Escape from Epstein Island, Wash Yourself, so on and so forth. These games were designed specifically to be sexually going for the player, and those players did include children.
But now that they're not doing it, it's now becoming a paradox of hypocrisy where they're like, yeah, we're going to do it over there for these things because we determine those are too adult for adults to even buy, by the way. That wasn't even a kid's thing. It was adults buying them. And they're like, yeah, we're not going to let you buy those adult games because they make our brand look bad. They make your brand look bad. How's Roblox making your brand look right now? Like, more proof, by the way, that this shit doesn't do anything to their brand at all. So they shouldn't be allowed to do any of this censorship of what you're allowed to buy or not. But I do find it curious. I do find it very curious that they have a different standard. Double standards, if they will. Netflix says, Smash, can we be honest here? Yeah. Yes, Netflix. We can be honest. Yet even as Visa and MasterCard take a hard line against legal adult-only games designed for consenting players, they continue to process billions in payments for Roblox, a platform that has become the subject of lawsuits, attorney general investigations, and damning media exposés for its child safety failures.
Right. And so that leads back to the collective shout thing, right? There's supposed to be a group of, women online who are trying to make the internet and video games and media and art safer for children, which is, in my opinion, obviously something that all of us would want, right? We do want our kids to be safe online. We do want our children not to see things that they shouldn't be seeing at their age. I am 1000%, behind that. 100. But when you pick and choose what you feel is not good for adults, but is completely okay for kids, when it's completely ass backwards at this point, right? That we took legal adult games away from adults, but we're going to leave a child's game that has been subject of all of this stuff going on, where there's legit real lawsuits going on of children being sexually explicit online, kidnapped, SA'd, everything else, but you're cool with that. It just does not make any sense at all for what's going on right
now. It's almost like it was easier to censor the itch.io and Steam because those adult-only games weren't bringing in all that much money. So they could push their agenda and throw their weight around and not worry about losing anything, because, who cares? What's that going to... We're going to lose like $20. We're Visa and MasterCard. We literally print money at our company. That doesn't do anything to us. Meanwhile, you have Roblox, where it's printing money every single day. And we'll gladly keep working with you guys.
Yeah, and exactly. It always comes down to the bottom line. And that's why I laugh at all of this stuff where we're doing this to protect the kids. It's like, okay, well, if that was true, then why is it that big players out there that basically shit money, you've got no problem with what they're doing, but the indie developer who spent 6 years of his life working on a game all by himself to put it on Steam is the one who basically gets bent over a table, right? It's hypocrisy at its absolute highest.
Because money. The contrast is stark, and it raises uncomfortable questions about money, morality, and selective enforcement. The Steam crackdown. In late July, The Guardian confirmed that thousands of adult titles disappeared from Steam and itch after Collective Shout, an Australian lobby group, boasted of persuading Visa and MasterCard to cut off financial support from platforms hosting games with specific themes. Where is Collective Shout right now, by the way? If they were so stern and excited about silencing Steam and itch with their adult-only games and taking games down, why wouldn't they be moving on to Roblox and being like, yeah, Roblox is bad too? Because
he did have a point. This is about a day old. So this was before Collective Shout did finally step into the arena of the Roblox situation. So kind of what he's saying now is irrelevant, because they have stepped in to say something finally about it. But again, what they've said about it is, we've been there from the beginning, and we want to keep men from doing stuff to kids online. It's like, well, it's not just men. It should be, we don't want people doing anything to children online, but that's not their rhetoric.
The history of Collective Shout has proven to us, and shout out again to Madam Salvi for this, that they defended cuties.
Right.
And now we have them, the silence here, I take as a defense of what's happening in Roblox with PDFs. It's very strange. Collective Shout will go after the adults buying adult things, but they won't go after the adults going after kids. That's very strange. Very strange. Steam updated its rules to prohibit content that might offend payment processors, while itch.io quickly de-indexed entire swaths of content to keep the storefront alive. Yeah, that was a whole shit show. I could only imagine behind the scenes at Itch, all the work that they did back then. MasterCard has since denied involvement in this purge, but the platforms themselves refute this.
Exactly. Yeah, well, Visa did it too. It wasn't just Mastercard. Visa did it as well. They both came out and were like, we don't we don't know what you're talking about. Quit calling us because we didn't do it, and immediately pointed the finger, at Steam and tried to more or less say that we don't even know who Collective Shout is, and then later on, kind of acknowledged that we had a group of people come to us and tell us that about these horrible legal adult games on a legal platform, so we took action. They haven't really came out to say that we did that, but PayPal more or less did.
And this was the post on X that got community noted to hell. Embarrassing. Developers, including pride-centric creators, argued the purge was overly broad. Games with artistic or narrative significance were lumped in with the most extreme material. PC Gamer reported that the rule changes were less about law and more about keeping Visa and MasterCard happy. For smaller studios, the message was chilling. If the banks disapprove, your game may disappear.
And that's probably the funniest thing to me is that Collective Shout has definitely stated that they're, pride centric allies, and that, they definitely stand behind all of that. And at the same time, took away these people's material, saying it was extreme, whatnot. It's like they can't figure out what political spectrum that they actually stand on, right? And then talking about the cuties thing, it almost seems to me that a lot of these companies and groups, Collective Shout including, is kind of pushing that narrative that we believe that people should have whatever sexual orientation that they want, and to them would include, well, PDF files as a sexual orientation. No, it's not. It's not. It's a mental illness. It's a problem, and nobody in their right mind on this planet is going to ever accept that PDF files is a sexual orientation. It would be no different than us being like, well, it's a sexual orientation to like animals. I mean, it's fine if that dude wants to fuck hippos. No, it's not. It's not fine. None of that's fine.
Again, going back to the money, it's so obvious right in everyone's faces right now. Having one situation happen right after the other one and a completely different result coming out of it. We might have a memory of a goldfish on the internet, but even we can remember that, holy shit, last week it was a problem for Steam and Itch, but this week it's not a problem anymore. And no word from MasterCard or Visa, by the way. Again, very strange, very strange. Roblox's Predator Crisis. Contrast that with Roblox, the platform builds itself as a family-friendly creative space, yet lawsuits and investigations paint a much darker reality. The Louisiana Attorney General sued Roblox in August, citing years of failed moderation and weak age verification, which...
And so this is just going to kind of go into, at this point, more or less, some of the videos that I made and a lot of the content that you probably already seen on the matter, with the lawsuit being filed by the Attorney General in Louisiana, along with other states now are starting to file paperwork. There's been some, talk about countries that are going to completely blacklist Roblox off of their, ability to use, delist them, ban them from the country entirely. So we won't need to finish watching the rest of this video because it's just going to kind of blatantly go over that. So going kind of back on the point here so now Collective Shout has said that they're taking up arms against Roblox. I'm still waiting to see where that, trail of bullshit leads. But at the same time, we still have heard nothing from the payment processors. And we probably never will, honestly, because when you look at the amount of money Roblox brings in, right? And you compare that to some indie dev who's making games in his basement for Steam, it's it's night and day, right? It's not ever going to equal out. It's not going to be fair regardless. However, they keep stating it's brand, recognition. We can't have our brand attached to something of this magnitude. But because Roblox basically shits money for them, they're like, whatever. You know, it's a kids game. What goes on in a kids game, that's not for us to decide. Well, it wasn't for you to decide what somebody does in the, you know, comfort of their own home playing a game that was single player, legal, and had nothing the fuck to do with you. You didn't have a problem then. So it's just bullshit. But that being said, gonna end up going ahead and getting off of here. I'd like to know what you guys think. I mean, did you see this coming like I did, or are you guys shocked that the payment processors aren't stepping in saying, "Hey, yeah, we did this last week, and this week we're gonna." And if we're being honest, we don't want the payment processors stepping into any of it, right? It's the hypocrisy for me. you know, that's what it is. You do it for one, you don't do it for the other. It just doesn't make any sense. We would like for the payment processors just to, shut the fuck up and process payments. And we don't need to hear about what they feel is artistic value. We don't need to hear, what they deem is not good content for their brand. We don't want to hear none of it. Just shut the fuck up and process payments. That being said, I'll catch you guys in the next video.